Hey there. Hey, the internet, hey. I've never done this before, I'll be perfectly honest. As you can tell by the quality of this video, I don't have a great camera. I'm in my freaking basement, and that's a low budget show, you know? But I'm really hoping to dive into some stuff that I really care about, that I think is really important to society and human flourishing, to quote Sam Harris. And if you'd like to see this video again in a future date, maybe remade, maybe a little less shitty, on a better camera and a better sound equipment, maybe without the in the background, then how about you hit the subscribe button? Just to let me know you like this stuff, you know? A view is a good thing, but a subscribe lets me know you care enough to say, hey, give this guy some cash, or maybe, you know, I'll save my own cash and just buy a nice camera that's not shitty and a nice microphone. I'll do that. I'll remake this. I'm really sorry about talking all the ways that I need money as opposed to telling you why you're here to watch this video. So let's jump into that. This here, in this box, this is called Theology on Tap. My name is Alan. I'm going to be your host. And the idea is that this is going to be where you learn about Catholicism, what it's about, how to be a Catholic, as somebody who's not one yet, maybe thinking about it, or just curious about what's the deal, why are they different, how are they not Protestants, what is a Christian, blah, 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 blah. And you want to hear from somebody who's intelligent, but also kind of drunk and fun and friendly and likes to swear. Fucking right? Because, like, maybe you've got friends who are Christian, and you're like, you know, I've been listening to Jordan Peterson, and I'm kind of, like, thinking about maybe there's some legitimacy to religion, except I don't want to go to some, you know, kumbaya event and camp out in the woods and talk about, oh, Jesus is so cool, I don't want to tell my... I mean, you know, that's fun. And for some people, I'm telling you, like, religious experiences, they're good. But maybe you're the guy looking for something, or the girl, looking for something a little deeper, a little more, you know, not necessarily like Carl Sagan deep. Actually, Carl Sagan's not even that deep. No insult to Carl Sagan, by the way, but, like, you know, blow your mind shit like Jordan Peterson, right? Like, just make you reinterpret reality, but, like, maybe not as scholarly. Maybe you're in the middle, more like Neogenesis, that kind of armchair theologian, where it's like, oh, you know, I haven't actually read Kant or Sartre, but yeah, I understand human implementality and the metaphysics of the end of Evangelion, sure. Okay, great. You're the guy in the middle here, the person that I'm looking to reach, the sort of person who... you know, yeah, maybe read Jordan Peterson, we'll go back to him. Read 12 Rules for Life, thought to yourself, you know, maybe some kind of religion, some kind of guiding principle for my life would be a good thing, but, you know, becoming a Southern Baptist sounds like a terrible idea, and I would agree with you. Because fundamentalism is definitely not good. It doesn't have anything to offer. People are running away from... I mean, I hate throwing Protestants under the bus. It's not the Protestants, not the people. First off, let's make that distinction. There is definitely a difference between the adherents and the teaching, like the taking the ideas to themselves. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to draw that contrast that you can have a doctor who tells you, listen, you know, I've checked your blood, I've checked your cholesterol and everything. I'm telling you, you told me you're smoking. You told me you're smoking 2 packs a day. You're going to die of cancer in a couple of years if you don't quit. So, like, get on that right now. Here's my bill. And you go, you pay your bill, you walk out of the doctor's office, and there's that asshole standing outside on the front porch smoking a cigarette himself. And so, you know, you think to yourself, why should I listen to this doctor when he's not taking his own advice? He's clearly full of crap. I'm going to go smoke my ass off. No, you wouldn't do that because you know in your, you know, in the core of it and all the other science out there, he's right. You need to stop smoking. And him smoking does make him a hypocrite, but it doesn't make him wrong. And that's what you got to realize. There's a difference there between the thing someone is saying can still be right if that person is a douchebag. There is a difference. You need to draw that line, okay? And so that's what I'm getting at, is that, like, Protestants, cool people, no problem. Protestantism, foolish, dumb, slippery slope into fundamentalism, which is where we're getting these flimsy ideas of religion that we have now that are falling apart and quickly, like, eroding into more relativism. And before I get too deep into that kind of stuff, I really meant to give you one other tip. part of what we're here to do on Theology on Tap is we drank. We're going to drink and talk about God. Did you come here to get drunk and talk about God? Because that's what I came here to do. So let's fill up, all right? So today we're talking about just the basics. And as the basics, today's drink of the day. And see if you pay some money and like my channel, maybe I'll get us some theme music. I'm working on that. Today's drink is whiskey and Coke. I know it's not that fancy, but that's the idea. Is we're just doing the basics here today, right? So come on over to my basement fridge. You can get some ice, some rocks, and as a disclaimer, oh garbage, don't forget to drink responsibly, such as in your own basement, and when you are of age, in the place that you live where it might be legal for you to have a drink. Today's drink, Kentucky Gentleman. The champagne of bullshit. Pour enough in it to make you happy. I would go with like a shot or 2 shots. This is probably 2.5 shots. My wife's going to kill me when she comes home from her night gig. I love you, Beeb. I'm not going to say your name on the internet. Why would I do that? But you know who you are. And whiskey and Coke, guess what the ingredient is that follows? And you'd be wrong, it's Diet Coke. Because, you know, I can't keep this figure up forever. Also, huge Zangief fan. I didn't mean to do this, but, you know, I did for a short win there. Play Street Fighter professionally, Street Fighter 2, the original, the good 1990, whatever. Oh man, do I love Zangief, because he is slow and communist, and I used to love communism too. But we'll get back to that. I do miss the 80s. I gotta say, the cool thing about the Cold War was the fact that there was just this mass of people that we just hated as a country together, and we didn't have to question their motives and what they were doing. Like, they were just bad because they were just communists. And it was nice to be like, yeah, so Popinski, fuck that guy. And, you know, Zangief's so evil. But now it's like, I don't know, man, Iron Sheik, ooh, but he's, you know, he's just got a religion. It's okay. He wants, you know, Palestine back and everything. He's just misunderstood. Man, I miss the Cold War where we could just be like, no, fuck them Soviets. Now we have Bernie Sanders. So my point was, sorry about that. My point was, whiskey and Coke, easy to make. I prefer a 50-50 blend, but that's a little harsh, especially if you're new to drinking liquor. I only drink liquor because I have an allergy to hops, which is weird. It's after drinking all of those beers and more. Yeah, I developed a hops allergy. It was kind of funny, so now I just drink liquor. It's fine, though. You just dilute it how you like it. And I like it sweet. I got a sweet tooth. I like soda. So, Rudy, we're talking about whiskey and Coke being a good drink, and you should have it if you're of age. And if you're doing it responsibly, somewhere you don't mind passing out in your own bed and not driving. That'd be fantastic. So, let's get back to this. Bam! Where are you at, okay? Because I do want to make it very explicit that this video series is directed at a very... You need to be at a certain place in life, okay? I kind of touched on this earlier. I want to be talking to folks who have already made the decision for themselves that they are curious about Catholicism, or dare I say, excuse me, oh Lord, where'd that come from? Dare I say, decided to become Catholic, but not sure how to go about that yet. And you should know that A, the word Catholic, lowercase c, means like universal, applies everywhere, or is found everywhere. And as such, there's probably a Catholic church near you. I don't care if you live in the sticks in the middle of South Dakota. I guarantee you there's a Catholic church out there. And you want to go visit that priest, and there probably is an annual, like a schoolish training program. You know, it's like an initiation process. In fact, the term for it is RCIA. I'm going to draw that at the bottom of the screen at a later date, I swear to God. RCIA. Rite of Catholic No, sorry, rite of Christian initiation and assimilation. So that sounds like a lot of big and scary words. Rite, R-I-T-E, that's like a ritual. And you're like, ooh, that sounds good. Well, yeah, it is. I mean, it's a ritual in a way, but not like... I mean, I don't know. We can argue about what a cult is at some point, but a ceremony is another way to think about it. This is your ceremonial initiation into becoming a Christian. And I mean a real-ass Christian, a Catholic Christian. Because if you weren't aware of it yet... And I say aware, like, this is not, a claim that I'm making. Like, go check historical sources. The Catholic Church was founded with Jesus Christ himself. God falling upon the earth and saying, hey guys, I exist, and also here's how to do the right things. But yeah, that's the Catholic Church. It was established by Jesus himself, followed by the apostles, who then named bishops to succeed them, and that's how we got here. So... it's fucking legit, and I'm sure that maybe some of you thought, yeah, that's why I'm here, and I want to figure out how to be a Catholic. So, this is your ceremony to get initiated into the Catholic Church, the Christian Church, to become a follower of Christ, and then be assimilated. And that doesn't mean you're going to become a Borg. We're not going to, like, issue you robot parts or do some weird surgery, although we will do baptism if you haven't had that yet. The assimilation is the... like, you gotta think of that as the acceptance, the bringing into the community of Christianity, of Catholicism, and into the family of Christ. It's a really good thing, it's a really cool thing, and it's something you should be doing voluntarily, first and foremost. And by that, I don't, you know, you get these preachers on the street corner, I need a sip. You got plenty of preachers on the street corner telling you, oh, you're going to go to hell, and oh, this is Babylon, look at my forced perspective with my giant hands telling you you're going to go to hell. The Catholic Church is actually not like that at all. The Catholic Church is not threatening you or pushing you to convert. They, unlike a lot of, seriously, I feel like this is a huge difference with fundamentalism and all that. The Catholic Church is not trying to scare you into becoming Catholic. The Catholic Church comes from a point of, if what they say is true, it will stand up to criticism and skepticism and investigation. And they want you to do those things so that you will be in a position where you say, fuck, man, Catholic Church has got to be it. It's the only answer. And I want to be there. And if you're thinking that, you're the person I want to be talking to right now. This is who this course is for, okay? I got one more thing. I'll come back to that later. I'm going to teach you how to pray. I'm going to teach you a little prayer. We're really big on prayers in the Catholic Church. I'll come back to that whole thing. Right now, have you poured your whiskey and Coke? If you've not, pause this video, get yourself a whiskey and Coke, kick it back, find a stool. I'm out of furniture in my basement, so I'm just going to stand. Also, I'm teaching, so I should be standing, right? Come on. But you, dig a seat, pour yourself a drink, throw it back, son, or daughter, or girl, whatever. Alright, so who am I? Who's this guy I'm talking to? He's just some weird, other white guy with a beard and hipster glasses. My name's Alan. I've been a Catholic since I was born. Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, no, seriously, I was baptized as an infant, and my mother was a very devout Catholic. My dad was too. He was raised in a Catholic family and went to Catholic school. But I will say that he didn't seem as passionate about his faith. My mom was super, super passionate about her faith, and when she got older, became a catechism teacher. Whoa, so many burps. Catechism is the fancy Catholic word for education, for teaching somebody about the faith and the tradition and all that. So she was a catechism teacher, and then when we moved, sometime in my elementary years, she rose up the ranks and became the director of religious education for our diocese. Not diocese, I'm sorry, just our parish. A parish is the single church community, okay? So like in a city, you might have multiple churches, each one of those churches, the following that goes to that church primarily is the parish. You assemble all of the churches, all the parishes, into a larger group, which is called a diocese. That's kind of like a Catholic county. And then that diocese is headed up by a bishop. So he's like your Catholic governor, if that makes any sense, right? They don't always follow the same lines as political, like, state lines, because they're doing their own thing. And I don't really know how they manage that, but that's what a bishop does. Is he's the governor of essentially a Catholic county. And then you got archbishops, which are like, I don't know, bigger fucking bishops. They're first among equal bishops over a much larger area, and then cardinals. We'll get into this shit later. I'm sorry, I'm running off the rails. Regardless, my mom. That's what I was talking about. Hey, Mom, love you too. Don't tell anybody I'm swearing and being drunk on the internet talking about things I love that I learned from you, among other people. Time out. Maybe I should make a game out of this. Maybe like when I drink, you should drink. Or something. Challenge you to a waterfall. You're gonna beat me, by the way. I'm so not a professional drinker. So my mom is super passionate about her faith. She was very knowledgeable, especially for somebody who did not go to theology school. Like, she's not a professionally educated person. She's self-educated, but she's fucking smart, dude. And one of the kindest people. And she really instilled a lot of that in me. And she was really a good resource for me to find other better resources, like really learned people who I'm going to reference constantly throughout this. And when I was growing up, I went to classes, under teachers that she was the boss of. And when I got older, I thought, they really did me a disservice. I didn't learn enough from them. None of what they were teaching me really connected with who I was and what I was dealing with, or made any sense of the whole history of everything. Like, here's what's really funny and sad, for that matter, okay? Is that, I'm not enough of a historian to tell you how catechesis, which is the, again, fancy word for how we teach the faith to either young Catholics or converts. I don't know the history of catechism, only besides maybe the last 50 years, or a little bit further than that. Back to about 1950, and in somewhere around like Vatican II, they had the brilliant idea of, all this shit is starting to not make sense, or no one's caring about it around like the 60s and early 70s. And they were like, we should kind of update what we're doing so it's more relevant to the people. And this was like, not a bad idea, but it had to be very carefully executed. And there was several months of discourse over the course of the Vatican II summit to figure out how to do that. And some of the concepts are brilliant. Some of the implications were less than brilliant. And one of the big ones that was really awful was what they called the Baltimore Catechism, and I don't think it really went further from that. Even when they changed it, I don't think they got farther off of it, because, like, hilariously what they decided was, what's really effective is the standard United States government education. Let's just follow that model. I'm gonna drink. Yeah, so that didn't work at all. Just BT dubs. Because how many of you were enthusiastic about history in middle school or high school? Because I'll tell you what history is. Guy I don't care about did something I didn't care about in this year. And it's about memorizing dates to things you don't give a shit about. And that's what Catholic catechism became. When I was growing up, it was, you've got to memorize your 10 commandments. What are the 7 corporal works of mercy? What are the 7 deadly sins? Just fucking vocabulary. And I was like, it just didn't matter. There was no concepts. There was no putting it into my daily life. There was no mind-blowing bullshit of the metaphysics of, like, Jordan Peterson, man. Jordan Peterson's nailing that shit today. Like, when he's talking about what God is as this abstraction of the highest of hierarchies across hierarchies. So it's like you learn what a good person is because you've seen several people that you recognized virtue in, and you abstracted from that each of them were heroes, but then you said, well, then there's a definition of what hero is. And then it's like, well, this definition of hero is something that never actually, it's an ideal that never took place in the real world, but it's a concrete idea and concept, and so therefore it is true even though there has not been a perfect exact copy or instance manifestation of that thing in reality. But the idea of the hero is true. And then it's like, well, if that's true, and if justice is true, and if good is true, then if they're true, then what's a truth? And so all those move down, here's a truth. Here's what truth is. And so it's like, man, fucking then, okay, like something can be true without having actually been instantiated in the material world. And then where did that come from? What is there a source of truth? And then that source that's further out, more esoteric, that's God. Not some hairy dude with a beard and, in a white dress and everything telling you you're going to go to hell. Like, no, I'm talking about the Jordan Peterson shit. Like, wake up and get deep. What he's talking about is exactly what the Jews were talking about and the Christians were talking about. And Jesus saying, oh, well, you can call him daddy. But he's not wrong. Like, you can have that kind of relationship with this not figure thing that is also not a thing because that truth invented what thingship is. Like, we're talking about so fucking far out there. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, my teachers were not getting at that shit when I was growing up. And people out there on the internet, even today, Father Mike Schmitz, love him to death. Great guy, there's a lot to learn from him. But he's not hitting the deep shit that I was looking for. At the risk, no, I'll take that risk. Yeah, of sounding like a, what's the word I'm looking for? Conceited. Yeah, no, I'm a smart guy. I was in gifted classes and all that shit, and I was always looking like for the out-of-the-box solutions to things. And I was never satisfied by that fluffy shit. And that's kind of, these are the folks I'm trying to reach. These people who are like, whoa, Jordan Peterson's on some serious shit, and either I get it because it is deep and I'm a deep thinker, or I get it because it sounds right and he's onto something and I want to understand it. You're the person I want to reach, dude. I'm telling you. This is where I'm at. I want to take one of the things that it's not Peterson's fault, but one of the flaws in his general delivery to the internet is that he constantly references, you've seen his diagram of the Bible with the rainbows all over it, and he's like, oh, it's got 65,000 cross references, and it's like the hyperlink document. He's fucking right, and that's a really critical fact. Super fucking critical fact. But, and he goes into this too, if you've seen the debate between him and Sam Harris in Vancouver about, building a facts-based morality or, like, what can religion offer? He's right when he says, even the worst and most unsavory parts of the Bible, you can take that one sentence or paragraph apart and just look at it in this guy, in the keyhole view. And it looks terrible, but it seriously does need to be looked at in the context of the whole of the Bible. And he doesn't have the time physically to give you that whole of the Bible view. And that's what I'm going to try to get at here. Not today. Not in this, I've already been talking for 24 minutes, and I'm going to make this an hour episode if I can help it. But maybe over the course of what did I plan here, go back and read my notes, because I've been drinking, and I hope you're drinking too. Take a drink now. Take a sip while I'm scrolling through my notes. Go. No, chug until I get to the bottom. Hold on, I'm almost there. It's okay, keep chugging. Waterfall, keep going. Okay, 8 episodes. See, that's not so bad. Well, maybe 10. Maybe I'll stretch that into 10. But all the same, 10 hours. I'm gonna give you, the big picture. I'm shooting for the big picture. The one that Jordan Peterson's always referencing but never gets to, okay? And he's trying. His biblical lectures, if you haven't watched that series, is fucking phenomenal. And I'm only like halfway through it myself. But, and it's heavy. I will say it's heavy. But, damn, he's on point. And here's the fucked up part. Jordan Peterson doesn't know everything he's saying has been proper, high-level, doctorate theology, par for the course for over 1,000 years. The reason why I respect him so much is because on his own, he's come to the conclusions that Thomas Aquinas came to, that St. Augustine came to, that Origen came to, that, like, just all of these historical figures have been teaching this shit for centuries, built on each other in this theological tower of education. And he came up the psychological tower, which is also intelligent. Like, I'm not knocking that. It's just it was a different discipline. And that's what's fucked up about it, is that he came from this completely separate discipline, and somewhere at the top of that hierarchy jumped over and used what he learned here to get everything they got. And it's like the only thing he's missing is, I want to say genuine faith, but I think that's not accurate to say. Because I don't know, man. If you've not read or listened to his shit, you need to get into Jordan Peterson, because he's onto something. He's really onto something. Especially when he talks about how his description of the nature of God is identical to what Catholics have been saying God really is since like 150 or 200 AD. Like, it's not new. It's not, ooh, Jordan Peterson suddenly validated religion. No, fucking bullshit. Catholics have been here forever, and he just caught up. And he did it by himself. That's why I fucking commend that guy. Nobody's been listening to us for fucking centuries. But, whatever, things happen. Yeah, that's cool. No, that's cool. Hey, I'm glad you're here now. I'm glad you're here now. That's the important part. Drink. All of that said. Excuse me. So who am I? I had a really educated mom. As far as the faith goes. She seriously was a very smart person. Also a very kind person, but a really well-read person, and she had a really good bullshit detector. On several things, like not just religion, commercials, politics, you name it. She was just phenomenal. I consider myself very blessed for having her. And because of her, I've had other educators, as I said before, who really left me lacking, which is funny because some of them even worked for her. And I realized it wasn't... some of it could have been because of the material, When you're running a school, as it were, you gotta buy textbooks. So my mom's looking around, 10, 12, 20, 30, 40 books on the market, series on the market to teach from, and she's gonna pick one. And it turns out they're all shitty. She just picks the best one, but that's the best among shit. And it just there wasn't any good option for me growing up. Instead, I would listen to my mom's CDs that she listened to in the car, which was like doctorate level bullshit from Scott Hahn. He's got Hahn. Look that fucking guy up. He's fucking brilliant. But it's heavy. It's heavy like in the Jordan Peterson style. Like it's grad level. You're like, if you're 13, I don't know if you'd follow. Actually, that's not totally true, because I've asked be honest, I brainwashed my son. I make my 12-year-old listen to Jordan Peterson in the car on the way to school, and he gets it. Like, it's weird how much of it he gets. And I'm really glad about that, because, man, we are just not fed real heavy topics in school anymore. We learn to the test. We learn by metrics. That's the real problem, is that the departments of education in various states, and even in the diocese, because they adopted the state model of education, they want to see metrics. They want to say, hey, how many of our Catholics can name all 5 sorrowful mysteries of the Rosary? What does that fucking do for you as a Catholic? Nothing. You need to teach people how to think and how to understand what their heritage is and how to make it important to them in their lives in a daily sense. That's important. I don't care if they can't recite the 5 joyful mysteries. You'll fucking Google it. You know what I'm saying? We got the Google now. Damn it. And it's just been the wrong thing. And I think that Peterson's getting that way. The other huge guy you gotta look up is Father Robert Barron. That guy's on point. Sorry, not Father. He got promoted. Bishop Robert Barron. He's been bishop for about 2 or 3 years now. So, but I've been listening to him since he was Father Barron, and that's another thing that was like, you know, one of the shortcuts of my mom knowing her shit, finding this guy early. I've been listening to Barron for years now. I'm gonna go with on the upwards of 6 or 8 years, and it's 2019 as of making this video. So like, he's fucking on point. I think he's my hero. He's my biggest hero. Is Father Robert Barron. Man, his shit is good. You gotta listen to like him dropping some knowledge on his niece on her birthday going to college or whatever the hell it was, where he was like, you need some serious fucking books. You need a comic book for your... Anyway, I'll find you that one. I'll link to it at some point. Anyway, my point is, I'm not a scholar. I never went to theology school. I never studied in a serious sense history or anything. I just read a fuckload of Wikipedia. And I was disappointed by my own catechism teachers and said, you know what, I can do that and I can do it better. Because my mom is smart and she listens to more smarter people than anybody who produces a book can put in the hands of these teachers and then say, oh, teachers, you got to teach the book. Because the book sucks. If the book sucks, the teachers suck. And I wasn't going to settle for that. But I am what's called a lay person. What's a lay person? Drink. A lay person is somebody who is not part of the clergy or the official educators. Clergy being people that are ordained in official roles in the Catholic Church. So it could be a priest. It's usually a priest. But I think that also counts nuns and also not altar servers, because they're a lay servant. And so is a rector. No, yes, rector is a lay servant. Yeah, really lay just means anybody who's not clergy. Put it that way. And so clergy means you're ordained. Like the bishop comes and not only do you have a role, because bishops have people working for them who are like, you know, secretaries and accountants, but they're not, that's not a holy job, I guess is the best way to put it. So they're lay workers. You know, the secretary who takes the messages for the bishop is a lay person. But the deacon, for example, in a church is not a lay person. They are ordained in some sense. So they're part of the clerical hierarchy. I don't know how else to draw that. But anyway, a lay person can be a catechist, a Catholic teacher. As a, you know, kind of a side gig. It's usually unpaid, it's volunteer, and you just show up to Sunday school, as the Protestants call it, and you teach kids, hey, here's how to be a Catholic. And so I did that actually for about a year or two, and I started having kids, and my wife was having a very hard time with one baby after the next baby after the next baby, because we are Catholic, and that means we don't really practice birth control, so we had tons of kids in a row, and she was getting overwhelmed by having changed so many diapers before she went to church, and I had to quit being a catechist, which makes me a little bit sad. But, you know, one day when all my kids can wipe their own asses, I'm going to get back into that shit, because I love being a catechist. Catechism, teaching catechism. A catechism teacher. Because a catechist is somebody being catechized. Man, that's some big words. I didn't even know that drank. Yeah. So, my point is, I'm just a dude with a beard in my basement. I'm nobody, like, I'm an armchair theologian. I read a lot of Wikipedia. I watched a lot of YouTubes. I listened to the right folks, and I'll tell you who those right folks are. And I'm very passionate, and I care about these topics. But I will say I'm not a PhD. I'm not gonna be. I know my shit, but I'm not qualified on paper. We good? All right, so you know where I'm coming from. That's That's me, all right? So, next order of business, who are you? My finger's in your eye. Check it out. It's you. Right there. Fingers at you. Who are you? What are you doing? You're curious about the faith. You kind of want to be a Catholic. Or even you really want to be a Catholic, but like all the educational things are kind of, man, like I said, you don't want to be... You know what another one is? Okay, you know what? I'll tell you another story. Here we go. My wife. When I met her, she spoke super eloquently, super intelligently, super fair, and obviously not a fundamentalist. By that I mean like really far from fundamental. Like she definitely thought on the deep level about her faith, the nuanced level about her faith. And I recognized that in the third conversation I had. Actually, it wasn't even my conversation. I was at a party playing Street Fighter 2, let's be honest. I was at a party getting ripped, and we were playing Street Fighter, and the guy that I was playing against was a smoker, and he was like, bro, we gotta take a break. I'm gonna go back in the backyard and just have a puff. I said, sounds great. I'm gonna go pour me a drink, and, you know, I'll mingle. So while I'm watching my home fry have a smoke, I'm overhearing this conversation with this girl over here who I'm kind of into. You know, she's kind of my type, you know, physically speaking. But she's talking to all these other atheist kids about the virtues of Christianity, and in a very nuanced and advanced way. And I was like, damn, that girl's intelligence is hot. And so I was like, yeah, I didn't get to know that girl. And it turned out I was right. And as we were getting to know each other and started dating and all that stuff, she was like, I think I've always wanted to be Catholic, even though I come from a fundamentalist, well, not fundamentalist family, but closer to it. And she was like, no, I was reaching for that greater depth and nuance, and I always thought Catholicism could offer that. And I was like, I'm pretty sure you're right, and let's do that, because what I really want is to have lots of Catholic babies with you, because you're a sexy, sexy lady. And she's like, that sounds great, let's do it. So she converted and became a Catholic a couple months before we got married. So, hey! And in doing so, I went to her RCIA classes, which again is what I said is what this YouTube series is supposed to be. I was likewise just as disappointed in her RCIA classes, which are aimed at adults who make adult decisions to convert. I was just as disappointed at how shallow and weird and dumb her class was. So we would talk about shit in class, and then we'd come home and she'd be like, that didn't make any sense. Or, I thought this was supposed to be deeper than what I was learning in Protestant Bible study. And I was like, baby. I know the deacon was driving that shit, but Deacon, what's his face, no hate towards him, good guy, but listen, he's not Robert Barron. He's not Scott Hahn. He's not, you got to be getting into deeper shit. And so I would dig into it with her. And I would kind of take what he was saying and be like, what he was referencing was this and that and the other thing. And it was kind of going through this line of thought that blah, 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 and quantum physics. And she was like, and she'd be like, why aren't you teaching RCIA? And I was like, fucking, why aren't I? Oh my God, I should be teaching RCIA. And then I went and I tried, and they were like, oh, we only want deacons doing it. And I was like, well, maybe I'll become a deacon just to do that. Or maybe I'll get a YouTube channel and try not to look at my preview video and look more at the camera and make one more drink before she comes home and gets ticked off at me because she's at her night job. Hey, my wife, she's working hard, man. We got a lot of kids. We got to make that extra money. And you know what? Turns out I'm out of ice. But to make a good whiskey and coke, you don't necessarily need ice. You can also just use the whiskey, which is fine, and then put the coke in there. If the coke is warm, that's okay, because that's what they do in Europe, which is actually the birthplace of modern Catholicism, because Europe contains Rome, if you weren't aware. And And that was where St. Peter, who is Jesus' main boy, went and founded the European Church. Within, a couple years after Jesus himself died. So, take that, man. Warm drinks, it's okay. This is how Peter drank his wine, is what I'm getting at. This is how Peter drank his wine. So, I have no remorse for drinking warm drinks. And my wife might kill me, but I really hope that, she's a cool kid. She'll be like, hey, look at you, putting the faith out there. Best you can, only way you know how. By being a drunk asshole on the internet. Oh my goodness, I hate warm drinks, but I'm going to put up with it for you, because I love you. Hold on 1 second, I'm going to find anything cold to drop in my cup. Okay, so I found 2 ice cubes. Plop, plop. Fizz, fizz. This is called a soapstone. It's made of soapstone. I don't know if that's fake or what, but you can freeze them and they're reusable. If you were the sort of person who drank whiskey straight, which you would need Maker's Mark for, and if you're not familiar with Maker's Mark, it's good whiskey, and it comes in a bottle that looks like this. It says Maker's Mark on it. But I'm not drinking that tonight, because this is the basics, remember. So, which is why we're drinking Kentucky Gentleman. But if you're drinking Maker's Mark, you'd want to drink it with soapstone, so that your ice does not water down the greatness of your whiskey. But since this is shit whiskey, it's nice. So, the things that happen when we're going to, here's what you should do, okay? Okay, new guy? You like Catholicism, kind of, or you're at least curious about it. You're Cath-curious, and that's good, and you should be, I think. You want to go straight to the source. It's where Christianity began. It's the only sect of Christianity. And you know what? Eastern Orthodox. Okay, I'll allow Eastern Orthodoxy. But it's the only place where, they trace their history back to the guy himself who kind of died and came back from the dead. So it's the real deal, man. And the Mass, first off, we don't call it a service. It's not a Sunday service. It's a Sunday Mass. And it's a liturgy. And we'll get into what that means later, too. God, man, there's so much I want to talk about, and I gotta save it for future episodes. You're at the tip of the iceberg, bro. Like, sit through this series for the rest of it. I'm telling you. It's gonna be just, your mind just, all the good things about Christianity are coming. But I will recommend that you start your journey into what the fuck is Catholicism by going to Catholic Mass, okay? Go to Google, find a Catholic church near you. Generally speaking, having been around the country a lot, here and there, just road trips and shit and visiting family, almost every parish has a Mass at about 8 o'clock and about 12 o'clock and some hour between 8 and noon on a Sunday. Excuse me. They also have something called the Vigil Mass, which is to follow Jewish rules somewhere around sunset, or at least ostensibly sunset, the day before. So about 5 o'clock, which honestly, especially in the southern states, is before sunset by a lot. But they count that as Sunday. So, you can go Saturday at 5 and just say, yeah, hey, I did my duty. Go ahead and giggle. It's fine. Sounds like poop. I get it. Be juvenile. My wife would be laughing right now. Are we done? I'll drink while you laugh about duty. Go ahead. So you can do your duty on Saturday afternoon and then not have to wake up early, or what your idea of early is on Sunday. But otherwise, there are many options, is my point. Any Catholic church has multiple masses on Sunday, and also at least one Saturday by the evening that counts. And actually, to be honest, there's a mass every day, every single day. Usually at 8 a.m., noon, or 5 p.m. at every church. There is a daily mass. And we can get into the reasons for that later, too. But if you're just learning and you're just trying to figure your shit out, I would go Sunday. That's the one you care about. That's when everybody shows up. That's the big one. That's the keeping the Lord's Day holy. You've probably heard of that commandment out of the 10. That's a big one. That's the one. That's the one that counts, as it were. Go to Mass. Even if you're not Catholic, that's fine. You can sneak in there as a spy and just kind of observe. You can audit the course, as it were. The critical thing is that you don't. Jeez, oh my dad, the drinking's. I'm sorry, burpins. Don't take communion. Toward the end of a Mass service. Sorry, ooh, geez, that Protestant term. Not to be hateful towards Protestants. Again, difference. Protestant people, they're cool. Protestant thinking is stupid. Toward the end of Mass, they distribute communion. I think that you, as a student of somebody who doesn't understand Catholicism at all, you should still attend a Mass and audit the course, sit in the back, watch what the people do. Stand when they stand, sit when they sit, kneel when they kneel, and just kind of go through the motions, literally. But when it comes to the end, after the priest has done his, Lord, come upon these gifts and blah, 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 and this is the body of Christ, do this in remembrance of me, and this is the blood of Christ, do this in remembrance of me, and then everybody does their thing, and then they come up, and when they're lining up and taking the communion, and they're taking the bread, don't do that. Don't take it, okay? Don't put it in your mouth. For very serious reasons that at this point you don't understand, and I as respectfully as possible, I want you to back off of that. I want you to experience the rest of Mass and see what the liturgy is about. Liturgy is like the order of the ritual of Mass, or it's really the order of any ritual, but in this context, I mean the Mass. You should, the Mass is the biggest, most serious thing and the reason why God came to earth. You need to see one. You need to be part of one. You need to experience it. It's made of many, many parts, and it's going to be very esoteric and weird to you. I'm going to tell you that straight up. And that's fine. I just want you to sit in on it and see what it's about. And during your observing period, please do not participate in the communion when they're handing out the bread and the wine. It's at the very end. It's at, a Mass is an hour long. We'll get back to that. A Mass is an hour long, and somewhere around the 50-minute point is when they do the communion. Usually, depending on your priest. If he wants to be a long-winded windbag, or if he's on his game, that can be anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour and 5 minutes. But, after he's done thing, here's the body of Christ, here's the blood of Christ, and they start singing a song, and then everybody starts lining up, and the ushers are letting people come out of their pews, and they're going up to the priest. When you see that happening, that's the communion. Don't go. Just stay in your pew. It's totally fine. No one's going to judge you. No one's going to think you're weird. That's the other thing that's weird. Or as somebody who's not a Catholic sitting in might think is weird, not everybody goes to communion. That's okay. In the Catholic Church, just sit back in the pew, which is the bench, and let people walk in front of you. If there's anybody in the aisle who wants to get communion, let them do that. Don't and then just go back to kneeling like everybody else does and pray, or at least pretend to pray, because you probably don't know how to pray at this point. Holy shit, I never came around to that. Let's pray, dogs. Hey, all of you, raise a glass, drink a sip. I have to piss like a racehorse at this point. But I want to pray with you. I want to pray with all of you. I'm going to teach you a prayer. And it's going to be a weird choice of prayer to some folks, but I chose this deliberately because the Catholic Church is very much about established prayer. Like, not established, this is a rote prayer, or R-O-T-E, or it just, the Church establishes how the prayer should be said, the exact words chosen, and they do that for reasons that Jordan Peterson has touched on, that we as humans have a lot more information in our heads and in our motor skills that we act on at any one instance than we're really aware of. We've processed much more information than we can verbalize. And so, excuse me. Oh man, I had hot wings and they were delicious, by the way. That burp was awesome, but I think I want ranch. And so, it would be, words have this diabolical flaw to them, that they can be taken literally or reinterpreted and gone a different way. And there's this dichotomy, there's this bifurcation between words that we say and their literal meanings, and experiences that we as a race have been through that brought us to the understanding of God that we can then maybe articulate in words, but then again, once those words become fundamentalized, they can lead us astray. Hopefully you're following what I mean there. And so, because of that, the Catholic Church, and Jews also, are very strong on codifying exactly how you should say a prayer, okay? So like an obvious prayer is the Our Father, which is actually in the Bible. And I would teach you the Our Father. Maybe you already know it if you're a Protestant, or maybe you've already read the Bible and you know it there, because it's written in the Bible too, in several of the Gospels. It might even be all four, I'm not positive, offhand. But the Catholic Church has like a task force, like a certain number of clergy people who are, upper bishops and whatever, that confirm, like, no, this is the way the prayer should be worded and structured, so that all of the unobvious information is still encoded in these words, so that they are not accidentally misinterpreted and go down this other weird rabbit hole that they shouldn't. And that's really critical, and I'll come back to that later, I think. But anyway, my point is, I'm not going to start with the Our Father, because that's one you say every day at Mass. By every day, I mean every Sunday, but like, I'm going to go with the St. Michael prayer, because it's long-ish and a bit esoteric, and it's going to be harder to remember. And over the course of this series, like the 10 episodes I plan to do, I want to start with the longer and harder ones, so that we have more time to memorize and perfect them by the end of the series. So, I'm going to say it in front of you. When I'm done, rewind your video, start it again, say it with me, and we're going to memorize this one, okay? So this is called the St. Michael prayer. It's the prayer to St. Michael. Who is St. Michael? Michael is an archangel. Maybe I'll talk about him in a later time. He was a captain angel. He was the primary challenger to Lucifer, who became Satan in the stories / mythology, if that's how you want to look at it. His name, Michael, is properly pronounced Mikael in Hebrew, and it translates to "who is like God." Because in the original story, God showed the other angels what his whole plan was for humanity. He was like, I'm gonna get into this later, I think, in a future episode. And he's like, no, I'm gonna go ahead and as God come among my people who are not angels. They are not, immaterial and immortal. They're these mortal, material, stupid, small dust beings. And I'm going to be one of them. And I'm going to show them how much I love them as dust beings. And Lucifer, as this great and mighty higher level ranked angel, said, that's stupid shit. And I don't know why you would become this cockroach to tell cockroaches why you're great. We're, comparatively gods among these people. And you're just dumb, God, I don't get it. And I don't think I want to be part of that plan. And it was Michael, who was a much lower ranked angel than Lucifer, who said, who are you to judge, bro? This guy's God. He's got a plan. And he's the one who built all this stuff. For that matter, he built me. He built you. We owe our existence to him. And it's bullshit for you to say, I can decide what's right or wrong. Because God decides what's right or wrong. So who are you to be like God in deciding what's right or wrong? Who is like God? Mikael. Saint Michael. So he's a captain of angels. He's a like a knight captain, he's not that high on the ladder, but we know who he is, and he's captain among several angels. So he's like a lieutenant or a corporal or a general. No, general I think is too high. Lower down, but but potent and over lots of regular angels. So anyway, the St. Michael prayer. Repeat after me. Rewind that video. Drink now. It's dripping down my drawers, and I have to piss like a racehorse. Pray with me, bitches. Also, we start all prayers in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. That makes a cross. It's called the sign of the cross. It's as old as Jesus himself and the apostles is what they did. You summon the Trinity to be with you when you pray. So again, in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. That's left and right shoulder. Saint Michael the Archangel, defend us in battle. Be our protection against the wickedness and snares of the devil. May God rebuke him, we humbly pray. And do thou, O Prince of the heavenly hosts, by the power of God, thrust into hell Satan and all evil spirits who prowl about the world, seeking the ruin of souls. Amen. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Oh my God, I have to pee so bad. So, yeah. Man, I'm going to go into that prayer later. We're going to do it again next week. Next time I make one of these things, okay? I'm going to teach you one prayer. We're going to memorize them. We're going to figure out what to do. And I definitely encourage you to go to Mass. But don't take communion. You're not ready for it yet. But see what the Mass is about. It's very important. And come back here in a couple of weeks. And we're going to get into some serious shit. Take a piss. Enjoy your drink. Thanks for coming. Bye-bye.